5 heroes unite against the Demon Emperor in one final desperate gambit. Their combined power erupts in a cataclysmic blast that shakes the very heavens. As the dust settles, the Great War finally draws to a close. Victory was achieved, but it came at a devastating price for the heroes. 3 of the 5 legendary warriors stand amidst the ruin, their spirits broken. Sofka, the sage, pours his remaining power into a comrade, refusing to accept their fate. But Mirov knows the truth. The Demon Emperor's final curse is absolute. The sage roars in defiance, unwilling to let another friend fall. She gently stops his frantic efforts, asking him to let her go. With a serene smile, the fallen hero accepts her destiny, finding peace in the end. They won the war, but broke their promise to all come home together. Suddenly, the Demon Emperor's voice echoes, declaring this is not the end. His very essence erupts from the ground, ensnaring the heroes in a final, horrifying trap. The Emperor's true power wasn't destruction, but a terrifying form of assimilation. The strongest warrior feels his body twisting, corrupted by the dark influence. But the disembodied voice scoffs at their understanding of his power. He doesn't see this as a simple merger of flesh. To him, this monstrous transformation is a glorious evolution. Their victory has only made them worthy vessels for his world-ending mission. And he has a special place reserved for the one who landed the final blow. The corrupted hero screams his brother's name, Gelong, in a desperate final plea. He begs for an honorable end, preferring death by his brother's hand over becoming a monster. But their comrade urges Gelong to stay his hand, refusing to witness another friend fall. The warrior insists there's no time, as the last of his family is about to be lost forever. Faced with an impossible choice, Gelong stands before his brother, blade ready. His brother mocks the trembling sword, questioning if Gelong has the heart to deliver the final blow. The mighty warrior hesitates, his resolve shaken by this heartbreaking request. The Emperor's voice chimes in, revealing Gelong's own body is already being assimilated. A moment of clarity hits the dying hero. It wasn't weakness that stayed his brother's hand, but the same curse. With that understanding, a blade flashes, sealing one of their fates in an instant. With a single heartbreaking thrust, Gelong grants his brother's final wish. His dying brother smiles, declaring only the truly ruthless are worthy of such power. He passes on his innate ability, a terrifying gift that turns every kill into permanent strength. A surge of newfound energy courses through Gelong, momentarily halting the Emperor's influence. Their comrade screams his name, witnessing the horrific cost of this desperate gambit. Yet the last 2 heroes offer their lives freely, entrusting their hopes and souls to him. A second soul is absorbed in a blur of motion, and the mark on his face changes to 2. He steels himself for the final agonizing act, and the number 3 is burned into his flesh. Gelong unleashes the combined might of his fallen comrades in a furious golden roar. But the Emperor scoffs, revealing this immense power is only enough to free his right arm. Gelong retorts that one hand is all he needs to finish the job. But in a shocking twist, he turns the legendary blade upon himself. The Emperor's power erupts, refusing to let his prized vessel escape so easily. With a single corrupted hand, he effortlessly stops the hero's final gambit. The Holy Sword, a weapon that once shook the heavens, shatters like glass. Its sacred fragments fall, signaling the end of the world's last hope. The Emperor looms over him, boasting that his new body is truly invincible. Yet in that moment of utter despair, Gelong finds one last desperate path. He realizes his own body can still deliver a blow the Emperor can't block. With all his might, he strikes his own core, determined to deny the villain his prize. The Emperor roars in disbelief as Gelong makes his final unthinkable move. A cataclysmic blast of energy erupts, shattering both hero and villain from within. As the light fades, the Emperor's colossal form solidifies into a lifeless, twisted monument. His fading consciousness admits he underestimated humanity's will to fight to the very end. Gelong wonders if this is it, a shared demise with the world's greatest threat. His last thoughts are of regret, for the enemies he couldn't slay and the friends he couldn't save. With his life fading, the last hero accepts his tragic, lonely fate. A mysterious, colossal figure appears before him, lamenting the wasted potential. 5 years later, a lone figure mourns the Demon Emperor's fall beneath a starry sky. The scene changes and a new voice breaks the silence, hinting at a new beginning. High in a twisted forest, a dark ritual is underway on a suspended platform. It's the 5th anniversary of the Demon Emperor's fall, and his followers are preparing a tribute. The new demon leader vows to honor their fallen lord with a memorial of blood and sacrifice. He raises his blade, declaring the ceremony will begin with 4 human offerings. In a single brutal slash, the pure offerings meet their swift and silent end. The other demons descend into a chaotic frenzy, celebrating the grim ritual. But the ceremony isn't over. Now, a sacrifice is demanded from their own kind. A lone demon is offered up next, bound and helpless before the fanatical crowd. But as consciousness returns, the sacrifice opens his eyes, revealing a familiar heroic gaze. He questions his own demise, realizing his soul has been reborn into a new, monstrous form. The demon leader holds him fast, ordering the scum to stay still for the ritual. He's mocked as the weakest of their kind, a nameless demon fit only for this purpose. The word demon echoes in Zhelong's mind, a harsh reminder of his new form. His captor declares that being a sacrifice is the highest honor this pathetic creature could ever achieve. But just as the blade descends, the sacrifice moves with impossible speed. The ceremonial weapon misses its mark, slicing through his restraints instead. In a flash of steel, the hero finds himself unexpectedly freed from his bonds. The demon leader erupts in fury, screaming that he's ruined everything. As Zhelong lands, a dreadful thought crosses the leader's mind. Was that move intentional? Zhelong glares back with glowing green eyes, asking the fool if he's already forgotten who he is. The demon leader stares in disbelief, his mind struggling to process the impossible. A name from legend echoes in his memory, the hero who defeated the emperor, Zhelong. The story flashes back, revealing a younger, more arrogant version of the demon leader. He kicks a lowly rower, ordering the foolish rookie to get back to work. The insectoid demon barks at the crew, demanding they row harder for their four masters. In the year 312, the demon clan launched a massive naval assault to break the human defenses. 3 legendary demon kings led the charge, their power churning the very seas. Yet standing against this overwhelming tide was a single, solitary figure on a raft. That man was Zhelong, the grand healer and a hero celebrated across the land. The demonic king of ruin, Kalisa, simply sneers and orders his forces to advance. The flashback reveals Zhelong's blade meeting its mark, a single strike that decided the fate of an army. The insectoid demon trembles, recalling the utter devastation left in the hero's wake. He reports the grim news. An entire fleet was wiped out, leaving only one demon king standing. The memory shows a maelstrom of destruction, as Zhelong tore through their forces like a storm. 3 of the 4 legendary demon kings fell that day, a massacre orchestrated by one man. Zhelong stood alone in the rain, his face a mask of blood and resolve. He was a solitary god of war against a tide of monsters, and he did not break. The demon leader's memory is filled with the sheer terror of facing such a man. Zhelong's voice echoes in his mind, explaining with cold precision how to dismantle his kind. Back in the present, Zhelong realizes his rebirth has reset his legendary power back to its very beginning. Realizing his fatal error, the demon leader orders his followers to swarm the reborn hero. But Zhelong's blade moves like lightning, effortlessly dispatching the first attacker. In a flash, 9 demons fall before him, their numbers meaning nothing to the god of war. He scoffs at their weakness, noting their souls barely grant him any power. The insectoid leader finds himself disarmed and on the ground, staring up in pure terror. In a desperate last-ditch effort, he lashes out with his monstrous tail. Zhelong simply pins the appendage to the floor, ending the pathetic struggle. The once proud leader is reduced to a screaming mess, begging for mercy he won't receive. Zhelong drags him over to the fallen sacrifices, preparing to deliver a final, poetic justice. With cold resolve, the reborn hero kneels, ready to make the leader pay for his crimes. He calls upon his sacred art of healing, a power meant to save lives. But instead of mending, his arm twists into a horrifying mass of serpents. The hero stares at his monstrous new hand in utter denial. He looks down at the fallen, realizing his touch can no longer bring peace. The horrifying transformation forces him to his knees in agony and despair. It's then he accepts the grim truth. He's been reincarnated as a demon. He's filled with self-loathing, disgusted by this shameful new existence. The hero who once hunted monsters now bears their fangs in form. He roars that this lowly race has only one purpose now, to be slain by his hand. But as his rage subsides, a cold, calculating thought takes its place. His body violently rejects his old humanity, a physical manifestation of his transformation. The defeated leader screams empty threats, promising a painful end for the reborn hero. Zhelong ignores the pathetic cries, wondering how he ended up in this twisted fate. Suddenly, a colossal centipede demon emerges, thinking a little intimidation is all it needs. But Zhelong moves with inhuman grace, meeting the monster's charge head-on. He effortlessly sidesteps the beast's attack, proving his skills are far from rusty. In this new form, he realizes his life's mission can continue uninterrupted. A wicked smile spreads across his face. If he must be a demon to hunt demons, so be it. He pieces together the timeline. 5 years have passed since his final battle. With a new purpose burning in his eyes, his first goal is to find shelter and learn the state of the world. Galong scales a cliff, recognizing the giant skull of a beast he once slew. He scoffs, seeing that lesser demons have built a fortress within the bones of his past victory. The entire skeleton sprawls across the landscape, a monument to his former power now called the Land of the Round Mountain. Relying on old memories, he locates a familiar cave, a former hideout from his human days. The shelter is abandoned and safe, a perfect place to lie low and plan his next move. By the warmth of a crackling fire, the reborn hero takes a moment to himself in the darkness. His glowing eyes narrow with focus, a storm of memories and vengeance brewing within. With his demonic claws, he begins carving a small figure, a tribute to a time long past. His mind drifts to a cherished memory, a moment of levity with the 4 friends he lost. He even recalls their sillier moments, like when a comrade's sewing skills resulted in a rather breezy outfit. The memory shifts to his friends roaring with laughter at his brother's unfortunate fashion choice. His brother's face was a perfect picture of stoic annoyance, a memory that now brings a pang of sorrow. Back in the present, Galong finishes carving a small effigy of his armored friend. With a monstrous hand, he gently places the wooden knight among the others. He's created a small, silent gathering, a tribute to the family he lost. A wave of regret washes over him as he thinks back to those simpler days. He wonders if things would be different, if only he had been stronger. The hero's eyes burn with the weight of his perceived failures and the promises he couldn't keep. In a final act of self-condemnation, he casts his own effigy into the fire. The flames consume the wooden figure, a symbol of the man he once was, now lost to the past. He reflects on the countless lives ruined, seeing his new form as the perfect tool for infiltration and destruction. A sudden headache brings a flood of unwanted information, the original memories of this demon body. He sees visions of his vessel's past, a pathetic creature bullied for the smallest scrap of food. The memories reveal a life of slavery, a weak serpent-blood demon treated no better than a peasant. But another memory shocks him, a demon teacher giving a lesson on geography to a class of students. A sinister student even requests a practical lesson, hinting at a disturbingly organized society. Galong's eyes narrow as he pieces together this impossible new reality. He always believed demons were mindless killing machines, created solely for war. The hero rises, his entire understanding of his enemy completely shattered. In just 5 years, these monsters have built a civilization, a thought that chills him to the bone. Galong stares at the dawn, blaming his past weakness for every tragedy that unfolded. He vows that in this new life, he will gain ultimate power and fulfill his oath to eradicate their entire race. A crude map reveals his location, a rookie training camp nestled in the ribcage of the beast he once killed. He finds himself in the Land of the Round Mountain, surrounded by a pathetic gathering of demon recruits. A hot-headed instructor drills the rookies on the current state of the continent, clearly tired of repeating himself. Blending in with the crowd, Galong quickly pieces together the new world order. The map reveals a fractured world, with 5 new demon courts locked in a stalemate against the human kingdoms. The instructor uses a student's head as an eraser, before moving on to the day's main lesson, the innate seal. He boasts that unlike pathetic humans, every single demon is born with a unique innate ability. A diagram illustrates that both demons and humans draw from the same internal energy source to fuel their powers. The instructor lays out the power system, a hierarchy of 6 seals with a legendary 7th tier far beyond their reach. He then boasts of his own 2-seal power, belittling the rookies for the grueling path they have ahead. Galong glances at his hand, seeing he's been reset to a single seal and must now master this new form's abilities. The lesson reveals a crucial detail. Reaching the 2nd seal unlocks an ultimate skill, a true finishing blow. Just then, the crowd of recruits nervously parts, making way for an intimidating new figure. A cocky, blue-skinned demon casually shoves another aside, demanding everyone clear his path. The other demons whisper in fear, recognizing the new genius by the grim trophies hanging from his waist. His arrogant gaze lands on Galong, immediately dismissing him as a lowly slave who doesn't belong. The instructor roars for the slave to be thrown out before announcing the start of their practical lesson. With a sinister grin, he reminds the class that in actual combat, raw power isn't the only thing that matters. He reveals their test subject, a massive beast, and challenges the class to find its weakness. The arrogant genius grins, finally seeing something worth his time. This monster is a vile roar demon, a mindless relic from the Emperor's early days and the last of its kind. The instructor warns that this beast has only one weak point, and their lives depend on finding it. Zhelong, however, is completely unimpressed by this pathetic training exercise. Deciding he's learned enough, the Reborn hero prepares to slip away from the crowd. He scoffs at the rookie's pathetic guesses, knowing his current weakness means he can't afford to draw attention. But just as he turns to leave, the vile roar demon's eye snaps open with furious intent. The creature erupts in a frenzy, its chains shattering as it charges the terrified recruits. Even the instructor struggles to control the enraged beast, screaming for it to calm down. The instructor smugly declares that with the beast's throat in his control, it's completely powerless. But a wicked grin spreads across the monster's face, hinting at a hidden intelligence. The vile roar demon speaks, mocking the instructor's foolish confidence in this lost generation. It reveals this was all an act to fulfill its master's mission, wiping out these rookies. Its arm transforms into a rocky weapon, ready to unleash its true, devastating power. In a single, brutal blow, the instructor is violently taken out of the fight. The recruits, including the so-called genius, are frozen in utter shock and terror. The beast then turns its fury on the students, scattering them like leaves in a storm. The arrogant genius decides to flee, unwilling to waste his secret weapon on a losing battle. But his escape is cut short as a firm hand grabs him, refusing to let him run. The arrogant genius screams at Zhelong for blocking his escape route. Zhelong simply wipes a scratch from his neck, utterly unimpressed by the chaos. The vile roar demon locks its gaze on the lone figure standing defiantly in its path. It roars in fury, unleashing a shockwave that sends the other recruits flying. Panicked, the genius realizes he's trapped and must now use his trump card. A colossal shadow claw descends, aiming to crush the hero where he stands. Zhelong remains perfectly still as the monster's attack envelops him. His eyes flare with a chilling green light, a sign that the real fight is about to begin. The beast suddenly hesitates, sensing a terrifying aura it can't comprehend. It wonders why this pathetic demon shows no fear, questioning if he somehow knows its one true weakness. The beast scoffs, remembering its 9 fallen peers and concluding this rookie knows nothing. It stomps the ground, trying to shake off the impossible thought that he knows its weakness. With a glare of its burning eye, the monster convinces itself this is all just an empty bluff. But Zhelong remains a silent monolith, his very presence a promise of impending doom. His glowing green eyes narrow as he delivers a chillingly simple ultimatum. The vile roar demon laughs off the threat, preparing to show this fool its true authority. It descends like a comet, unleashing its heavenly demon descent right on top of him. Zhelong stands his ground, a calm island in a storm of demonic fury. The impact shatters the earth, sending a shockwave across the training ground. But the beast hesitates, suddenly realizing this high-risk, low-reward fight is a fool's gambit. To everyone's shock, the vile roar demon turns tail and flees the battlefield. But Zhelong wasn't just standing still. His hand was extending with a hidden purpose. The arrogant genius watches in confusion, unable to comprehend what's happening. He scoffs as Zhelong's hand reaches for him, assuming it's a pathetic attempt to drag him down. But a cold sweat breaks as the peasant's touch lands, feeling strangely solid. In a bizarre twist, Zhelong's hand seems to phase right through his armor. The reborn hero simply wipes his hand clean, having used the genius as a convenient anchor. Left in the dust, the blue-skinned demon erupts in rage at being used by a filthy peasant. The other recruits immediately swarm Zhelong, demanding to know the secret behind his impossible feat. He calmly explains he just read a human manual on the beast's poor eyesight, leaving them speechless. The recruits rally, trusting the words of the legendary demon-slaying maniac, Zhelong. But Zhelong smirks, revealing his lie and telling the fools to line up for their demise. The arrogant genius is furious, unable to believe this peasant dares to be so dismissive. His cronies find him trembling, but he quickly brushes it off as simple fatigue. The genius then orders his 5 lackeys to hunt Zhelong down and make his end a spectacle. With sinister smiles, his followers promise a performance their leader will surely enjoy. They track Zhelong to a misty watchtower, deciding it's the perfect stage for their ambush. The reborn hero walks calmly through the wasteland, a lone figure against the coming storm. His 5 pursuers emerge from the mist, confident their cover will ensure a swift victory. They close in on their target, urging each other not to let the lone figure escape their grasp. The lackeys mock Galong's serpent venom, foolishly believing it's just a minor inconvenience. Their leader orders them to split up, but the thickening mist already spells their doom. Suddenly, one of the brutes collapses, screaming as the minor venom ravages him from the inside. The poison strikes with pinpoint accuracy, targeting the demon's core. His body erupts in a shower of green energy, a gruesome end for the overconfident fool. The remaining 4 are caught in the venomous blast, their silhouettes twisted in the toxic cloud. They scream in agony as the very air they breathe turns into a weapon, blinding them. Another hunter becomes the hunted, dissolving into the poisonous fog he so foolishly entered. Galong's eyes narrow, revealing this was all just a test for his new body's innate power. He activates his ancient serpent bloodline, using thermal vision to see his prey perfectly in the chaos. He can even manifest his power as a direct serpent strike, a deadly new tool in his arsenal. The remaining goons stumble blindly through the fog, as Galong notes this new body has its tactical advantages. Enraged, the second-in-command transforms his arm into a massive, brutal blade. But Galong remains utterly unimpressed by the flashy display of power. The demon duo scoffs, believing that without his poisonous mist, the hero is completely helpless. The red brute charges up his attack, ready to cleave Galong in two. He unleashes a devastating swing, aiming to end the fight in a single blow. The massive blade cuts through the air, a blur of red fury and overconfidence. His partner cheers from the sidelines, certain of their impending victory. Yet Galong's eyes show nothing but cold, calculated boredom for the pathetic attack. The brute's ultimate attack shatters against Galong's body, ending the fight before it even began. His partner can only stare in slack-jawed horror, his bravado melting into pure terror. Now on his knees, the coward begs for his life, blaming the arrogant genius for his actions. But Galong is completely unmoved, coldly stating that's not a good enough reason to live. In a desperate plea, the demon offers up his master's secret stash of treasures. This piques Galong's interest, as he needs rare items to unlock his second seal and evolve. The two journey to a hidden waterfall, with the demon promising they're almost at their destination. He points to a cave behind the cascade, claiming the genius's treasures are just inside. But Galong's hand clamps down on the traitor's shoulder, his true intentions finally revealed. With a final shove, the demon is sent flying into a hidden trap, becoming a living pincushion. Galong coldly thanks the traitor for leading him straight to the prize. The cave reveals a deep pit trap, with the promised treasure waiting at the bottom. Meanwhile, news of the training ground chaos reaches the fortress's command. A guard reports that a lowly serpent demon single-handedly routed the vile roar demon. This unexpected development piques the interest of the shadowy commander. She is Bone Crusher, the formidable leader of the Land of the Round Mountain. Back in the cave, Galong retrieves the surprisingly small treasure chest. But just as he opens it, the arrogant genius appears, demanding he drop the loot. The blue-skinned demon lunges forward, blade flashing with fury. He roars in anger, furious that a peasant would dare touch his things. But Galong's attack is faster, crippling the genius's leg in a flash of pain. The arrogant demon realizes this is a completely different person, a monster his 5 goons never stood a chance against. He wisely decides against a head-on fight in the narrow cave, needing time for his leg to recover. With a burst of speed, the so-called genius makes a tactical retreat. He activates his innate seal, the rock feather armor, sprouting wings to make his escape. Galong stands under the waterfall, completely unfazed and muttering about his distaste for bird demons. He sighs, seemingly letting his opponent flee without a second thought. The sight triggers a dark memory, a looming shadow of the infamous bird demon clan. Back in the present, the Reborn hero prepares to make his next move. Instead of giving chase, Galong sprints down into the pit, his eyes fixed on the prize. He declares with cold fury that the bird demon clan is the most deserving of his wrath. With blinding speed, Galong intercepts the fleeing genius with a devastating kick. The arrogant demon plummets from the sky, his feathers scattering like fallen leaves. But the hero isn't finished, delivering a brutal follow-up blow mid-air. A vicious claw strike connects, proving this fight is far from over. The final impact sends the blue-skinned demon crashing into the lake below. Galong lands gracefully, skipping across the water's surface with impossible ease. He comes to a halt, a trickle of blood doing nothing to dampen his resolve. His foe emerges, foolishly mocking Galong for falling into the infamous lake of bitterness. But beneath the surface, a massive, shadowy creature begins to stir. Suddenly, shadowy tendrils erupt from the water, swarming the reborn hero. The monstrous worms latch onto his body in a relentless, flesh-tearing assault. His foe identifies the creatures as bitter Yuanshan worms, a countless, bloodthirsty horde. He reveals this entire lake was formed from the decaying remains of a legendary demon. Zhelong meets the swarm head-on, taking a brutal blow without even flinching. A strange mark glows on his neck as he endures the unending onslaught. But the hero explodes with power, his glowing eyes signaling a fierce counterattack. The genius watches in disbelief, stunned by the raw force on display. He quickly scoffs, taunting that the worms are endless and Gelong's power is meaningless. In response, Gelong's hand glows with a terrifying green light, ready to prove him wrong. The genius unleashes a flurry of golden attacks, effortlessly carving through the monstrous worms. He mocks Zhelong's pathetic speed, confident the peasant will soon be overwhelmed. His golden blades continue to dance, turning the endless horde into a shower of dark confetti. He scoffs that Gelong's pathetic worms are only good for tilling the soil. The arrogant demon decides to simply wait, letting the swarm slowly drain the hero's life away. Below the surface, the countless creatures begin to coalesce into a single, writhing mass. The serpent-like worms erupt in a chaotic frenzy, tearing at their target with mindless hunger. But a sudden blast of energy sends the entire horde flying into the air. Gelong's eye glows with an ancient power, completely unimpressed by this pathetic display. He unleashes his true innate ability, a colossal serpent of pure energy that dwarfs the entire swarm. The serpent strike connects, a brutal blow that stuns the arrogant genius. His foe reels back, baffled by Gelong's ever-increasing speed. The lake's surface is now a grim testament to the countless worms he just annihilated. Gelong reveals their weak souls were just enough to unlock his second seal. With a wicked grin, he promises to end this fight in the blink of an eye. The genius calls him insane, desperately drawing a bow to counter the threat. But Gelong moves like a phantom, closing the distance in an instant. Refusing to be outdone, the genius unleashes his ultimate attack, the ferocious Thunder Arrow. He boasts that this legendary weapon belonged to Demon King Shu, a gift from fate itself. With a final cry, he fires a devastating bolt of pure, crackling energy. Gelong meets the legendary weapon with a look of pure, unadulterated boredom. But the hero simply catches the bolt of lightning, stopping the ultimate attack in its tracks. His foe watches in confusion as serpents of dark energy begin to consume the arrow. The shadowy snakes then turn on Gelong, dragging him down into the murky depths. He's pulled under the surface in a chaotic mass of writhing tendrils and crackling power. A single monstrous hand breaks the surface, leaving his opponent to wonder what's next. The genius stands by the now silent lake, questioning if his legendary weapon actually finished the job. Suddenly, his sister arrives, worried that her little brother has gotten himself into trouble again. He brushes off her concern, claiming he just took care of a petty thief trying to steal their things. But as he clutches his chest, it's clear the petty thief left him with a serious parting gift. His sister reveals the treasure wasn't for him, but a life-saving medicine for her eyes. Underwater, Gelong realizes the legendary arrow shouldn't be twisting his form like this. He questions the sudden, violent transformation as the arrow's power surges through him. His consciousness is blasted into a blinding white void, a journey into his own soul. In this mental space, he witnesses the birth of a new power within his very eye. An ancient symbol of a serpent eating its own tail forms, signaling a profound awakening. A moment of clarity hits, and the hero finally understands the source of this change. He smirks, realizing the rare energy of the arrow awakened his body's latent, greedy authority. This hidden power is the true potential of his ancient serpent bloodline. The first ability of this new authority is revealed, the transformative power of serpent's shedding. A violent surge of dark energy erupts underwater as Gelong's body is completely remade. His foe watches the still surface, foolishly assuming the peasant has finally drowned. He wipes away a trickle of blood, trying to play it cool for his worried sister. But as a storm gathers, a monstrous foot steps out from the depths of the lake. The demon siblings look to the sky as a sudden downpour signals a change in the fight. Sinister purple lightning tears across the clouds, heralding a new power's arrival. The genius recognizes the ominous energy, his confidence finally beginning to crack. Below, the lake churns into a vortex of crackling, violent power. An immense pillar of dark energy explodes from the water, shattering the calm. The blast wave hits the siblings with devastating force, their victory now in question. The genius frantically searches the storm as his sister spots a figure emerging from the chaos. With a trembling hand, she points to a lone figure standing defiantly amidst the raging waters. A bolt of purple lightning illuminates Gelong, now standing like a vengeful god on a rocky pedestal. The arrogant demon can only stare in disbelief, his mind refusing to accept this impossible transformation. Wreathed in crackling dark energy, Gelong's new form is a terrifying silhouette of pure power. The demon siblings take a step back, their bravado completely shattered by this overwhelming presence. Gelong announces the arrival of his ferocious thunder body, promising their long-awaited end. But the genius refuses to be intimidated, charging forward with a furious golden battle cry. He soars through the air like a comet, aiming to shatter the reborn hero where he stands. Yet his desperate attack meets a wall of purple energy, his fury completely nullified. The genius screams in fury as he's violently thrown back, realizing he's been completely outplayed. With a single touch, Gelong shatters the demon's prized wing, a brutal display of his new power. The hero scoffs, disappointed that this pathetic foe can't even begin to test his current limits. A final, devastating blow sends the arrogant demon skipping across the lake like a stone. His sister can only watch in horror, her cries lost in the raging storm. She stands alone on the shore, a helpless witness to her brother's utter defeat. The defeated genius sinks into the water, cursing his own weakness in this final moment. A terrifying thought hits him. His sister will be the monster's next target. He unleashes his remaining life force in a desperate golden explosion of power. But Gelong simply watches the display with a curious smirk, completely unimpressed. The arrogant genius awakens his true authority, transforming into a golden rock to protect his sister. His sister watches with tears of pride, realizing he's finally reached his full potential. Refusing to be a burden any longer, she unleashes her own hidden power. Her demonic control eye summons a colossal beast from the depths to aid her brother. Together, the siblings roar in defiance, ready to unleash a combined, desperate assault. The Golden Warrior rains down a devastating volley of heaven's scorn arrows. Yet Gelong stands unmoved, a silent storm of purple energy ready to be unleashed. He crouches low, gathering the storm's fury for a single, decisive counter. A blinding beam of purple lightning erupts from his hand, tearing across the lake. The two ultimate attacks collide in a cataclysmic explosion of light and fury. Gelong's purple form blurs, effortlessly weaving through the storm of golden arrows. The Golden Warrior takes a direct hit, his ultimate form no match for the hero's raw power. In a flash of light, the combined assault is utterly shattered by Gelong's overwhelming energy. But the sister-summoned beast lunges from the depths, its jaws wide for a finishing blow. Gelong turns his attention to the new threat, unleashing a swarm of serpentine energy tendrils. The colossal beast is ensnared, its form struggling against the crushing purple constructs. With a final surge, the summoned creature is violently dispersed back into the churning lake. The Golden Warrior sees an opening, roaring that this is their one and only chance. He reveals a cunning trick, using the insectoid demon's body as a surprise projectile. Gelong meets the desperate gambit with a single devastating punch, ready to end the charade. The sister unleashes her gaze of reinforcement, pouring her own life force into her brother's final stand. Supercharged, the Golden Warrior unleashes the Heavenly Rock's fury in a blinding, desperate blast. He roars in defiance, certain this ultimate attack is one the reborn hero cannot possibly block. Gelong admits the blow is commendable, but an invincible attack requires an unconventional answer. Instead of defending, he meets destruction with destruction, turning the raw power back on its user. The gambit fails spectacularly, sending the Golden Warrior crashing back into the churning lake. Defeated and broken, the brother urges his sister to take the treasure and flee while she can. He pushes the precious pouch into her hands, his final act a desperate plea for her safety. But Gelong arrives, his shadow falling over the defeated siblings and their hard-won prize. The hero reaches for the pouch as its contents spill, revealing the horrifying truth behind the medicine. Gelong reveals their medicine is human eyes, noting a simple healing spell would have worked just as well. The grim truth of their actions floats in the water, a silent testament to their cruelty. Defeated, the siblings beg for their lives, offering to give up the very thing they fought for. As the rain subsides, Gelong turns his back, offering them a single final question. He asks if their victims ever begged for the same pity they're now demanding. The siblings are struck silent, the weight of his question finally dawning on them. Gelong's gaze hardens as he demands a simple yes or no, leaving no room for excuses. They exchange a look of pure dread, realizing there's no right answer to save them. The sister gives a chilling reply, admitting she has simply forgotten their pleas. Gelong concludes that civilization hasn't changed them. demons are still just demons. He concludes their only evolution is a shift from senseless cruelty to selfish ambition. To them, taking a life is as natural as breathing, a right they believe is given. Still, he acknowledges the ferocious Thunderbody is the greatest power he's gained yet. But this ultimate form drains his energy, making it a trump card he can't use lightly. Elsewhere, a demon reports the siblings' demise to his chief, linking it to the sudden storm. The chief notes their end was swift and violent, a single thunderstrike sealing their fates. The formidable Bone Crusher declares an uninvited guest has arrived in her territory. Unseen in the shadows, Gelong watches the new arrivals from a safe distance. She issues a new decree. She will personally investigate the death of any promising recruit. Deciding to lay low, the reborn hero dons a disguise and blends into the landscape. The chief's sharp gaze sweeps across her territory, searching for the mysterious intruder. She immediately confronts the disguised Gelong, who plays the part of a humble farmer perfectly. Bone Crusher smirks, recognizing the peasant slave who single-handedly routed a monster. But she quickly dismisses his past feat, shoving him aside for a more pressing matter. With a foot on his chest, she gives him a new mission: find ingredients for her fruit pie. Gelong endures the humiliation, his expression hidden as he plays the part of a weakling. She leans in with a sinister promise, threatening a grim fate if he doesn't deliver. With her warning delivered, the formidable chief and her guards finally depart. But Gelong reveals the brief contact was a test, gauging her power as a fourth seal defensive type. He analyzes his own abilities, realizing his speed-focused build lacks the offense to break through her defenses. He laments the missed opportunity, as defeating the chief would greatly boost his power. But Gelong admits the power gap is immense, and without knowing her weakness, his chances are zero. Still, his very being screams with an intense primal urge to hunt her down. With a new strategy in mind, the reborn hero declares that the real hunt begins now. Meanwhile, Bone Crusher consults an encyclopedia, trying to identify the mysterious intruder's power. She methodically rules out an electricity-based ability, noting the wounds don't match. Her research leads her to a chilling entry, an ability that grows stronger with every kill. Yet, she confidently dismisses this possibility, unaware of how close she is to the truth. Gelong understands he must play the long game, stealthily growing his power for a single decisive strike. Elsewhere, a pair of demons conduct a secret deal, terrified of their commander finding out. A pair of demons move their illicit goods, certain their secret is safe from the commander. But their tiny lookout is swatted from the sky, alerting a very unimpressed frog. A shadowy figure with a single glowing eye emerges from the water, its gaze fixed on the tiny creature. Gelong pats the frog, realizing this little guide is his key to a secret path for leveling up. The trail leads to a hidden cave, the entrance to a notorious black market. A guard tries to block his path, demanding a special token for entry into the Forbidden Zone. But Gelong easily slips past, finding himself in a bustling underground hub of demonic dealings. A swift kick to a nearby torch proves that rules are merely suggestions for the reborn hero. He blends into the crowd, overhearing demons lamenting the new ban on their favorite illicit goods. The hero listens in as a merchant debunks rumors about a legendary weapon material called scythe steel. The merchant scoffs that the legendary metal is useless without a master blacksmith to forge it. Nearby, a shady dealer peddles forbidden power-ups, catching Gelong's immediate attention. He overhears other demons complaining about their commander's strange new ban on human trafficking. This piques Gelong's interest, as such a sudden change in policy hints at a deeper conspiracy. Suddenly, a boisterous auctioneer announces a new shipment of human captives has just arrived. The crowd grumbles about the quality, recognizing the leftovers from the siblings' recent defeat. As the merchant tries to appease the mob, a lone figure emerges from the shadows. Gelong steps forward with a simple, chilling demand. He'll take every last one of them. The auctioneer sneers, doubting this miserably poor demon could afford a single captive. But Gelong offers a trade that silences the entire market, the legendary vicious thunder arrow. The auctioneer orders the captives taken away, ready to negotiate with Gelong in private. But a young boy breaks free, desperately trying to warn the others. He falls to the ground, blindly searching for a way to help his fellow captives. Despite being injured and dragged away, he urges the others to run for their lives. The auctioneer grumbles, annoyed that he won't get to keep his favorite captives. He correctly guesses Gelong is in a hurry to sell stolen goods, but he's made a fatal miscalculation. The deal is struck, and the doors begin to close on the greedy merchant. With the transaction complete, The two are sealed inside the private chamber. But the moment the door is shut, a storm of dark energy erupts from within. The auctioneer learns a final brutal lesson. Never make a deal with a god of war. The heavy doors slam shut, sealing the deal and the auctioneer's grim fate. Moments later, a sinister purple glow seeps from the cracks, signaling the end of negotiations. Zhelong emerges from the chamber, leaving the aftermath of his trade behind him. The doors swing closed, a final curtain call on the black market's gruesome show. Inside, the auctioneer and his cronies learn a brutal lesson about the true price of their goods. With the captives in tow, Zhelong leads them to freedom, but their new guide has a nasty attitude. The lizard-like demon threatens the children, proving that some monsters never change. Zhelong delivers a swift and silent rebuttal, ending the demon's tirade permanently. He smirks, noting his power has grown, sarcastically comparing the feat to tying up a chicken. But his display of brutal justice leaves the rescued children frozen in absolute terror. The lizard demon's head is removed in a single brutal strike, splattering across the ground. The rescued girl can only stare up at her savior, calling him a demon among demons. Zhelong notes his new power has a rare passive ability, but the Day of Happiness fails to activate. He turns his attention to the terrified children, who are still bound together. In a surprising act of kindness, he returns a small pouch to the blindfolded boy. The boy gratefully clutches his recovered belongings, a small comfort in the chaos. Leading them to safety, Zhelong offers the pouch of medicine to the young girl. With a flick of his wrist, he severs their bonds, declaring he hates seeing people tied up. The small frog guide now stands watch over the wooden figures of his fallen comrades. Using his healing arts, Zhelong restores a captive's sight, who thanks him as a great savior. The boy thanks his savior, explaining he was too terrified to speak before. But the girl questions his motives, asking why a demon would save them from his own kind. She's left speechless by his simple, almost flippant reply. Zhelong cuts her off, telling the child to be quiet while the master is busy.